Hello again, rail fans, and today I'm going to be, as the title suggests, playing on rapid transit. It's had a massive patch today, and already had a wee play around with it, and it's brilliant. It's what it should have. It's what it should have been when it launched, frankly. But really pleased that they've taken the time to go back and fix all the problems with it. Why can I hear myself in the background? Oh, it's because my other device is turned on and out of sync. Magic. There we go. So, most important thing that they've fixed, PZB works properly now, so we'll be turning that on. Now, train up ahead there. Used to start over, it actually used to start way behind us, pull up next to us, and then delay us for absolutely ages. That's been tweaked. We do still have to wait for it to move away though. So you start with the train more or less fully prepped anyway. We just need to wait till our scheduled off time. See, there's a red signal right in front of us anyway. What I should have done a minute or two ago was just a quick check on the length. The train we're driving is only 3 cars, that's fine. Useful to know when we start getting to stations. Right, might as well just close the train up now. And off we pop. Let's release that. And watch, the line speed is 60k going across the junction. Right, that one's not protected. Signal ahead though, so this gets quite interesting. I've already done this one before I streamed it, so we're following another train up the line, which means lots of PZB. And it all works. It's brilliant, does what it's supposed to. See, previously I'd have had a penalty for not being at 25k by the time I hit that magnet and stuff. Oh, it's so good. We'll just crawl up to this. Hopefully it'll change before we get there. Let's have a wee look. Hey, Stephen, how we doing, mate? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the chat. I rarely do when I'm actually driving. Yes, they have indeed fixed rapid transit. They obviously heard everybody who said that they weren't going to buy the 182 for a route that didn't have working PZB. So big patch dropped today, version 1.10. And now the magnets are all where they should be. Everything works as it's supposed to. If anything goes wrong and I get a penalty stop, it's because I made a mistake, not because the game didn't know what to do. So we can go up to 40 now under the restricted monitoring. If a 500 hertz magnet's on, we need to get right back down to 25 though. But it shouldn't be. It is indeed awesome news, mate. This service that I'm doing just now, I did it when I got home and discovered that there was a big patch, because I knew this was a service that had previously caused me problems. It's fantastic, mate. We spend the whole service chasing back the time we lose behind this train that was ahead of us at the start. You can make the time up if you really push it, by the way. But everything just works. The nightmare 500 hertz magnet down here no longer stops you every single frickin' time either. So bags are in there. Yeah, man, this route is one that I've not really done much streaming from, and I drove the hell out of it when it was one of the only 3 routes that were available. But I never touched it after Roos ignored, really, just because of the PZB not working. It felt like a half-finished job, which kind of was. Right, I need to concentrate here because PZB and stuff. Right, so 1000 hertz monitoring, we should be okay to go up to 45, but we need to watch for a 500 hertz next signal, so I'm just gonna... It's also KS signaling as opposed to the HV that we're used to from... Oh shit! There we go. It's also KS signaling on this route as opposed to the HV that I'm more used to, so stuff is likely to go wrong. So we'll suddenly go down a hill here. You have to watch that the speed doesn't run away from you and trip that 45 kph. So we lose about 2 or 3 minutes down here following another train through the tunnel under PZB, and then the challenge is gaining it back on the rest of the route. So there's the 500 hertz magnet come on, so you need to get down to under 25 because we're under restricted monitoring. It doesn't matter too much where we actually stop because we're only in the 3 car. If you're in the 6 car, you have to take it more or less the full length. Lovely. So we're already about a minute and a half behind time. That's not going to get any better in these tunnels. And we'll probably be slightly behind most of the way to Dessau, but you can make the time up in the last couple of sections, if it all goes well. Okay, so the signal ahead of us changed to a expect stop, and these signals are still confusing me slightly because that is a distant and a main and a repeater all at the same time, and I'm basically operating on the principle, if in doubt, acknowledge it as you go past it. And we'll also be restricted to 25 kph initially. And I can't release it because it's magnets that have got the monitoring enforced. Right, so we're now under 1000 hertz, which means we can go back up to 45. Realistically 40, just always give yourself that cushion, of course. And expect a 500 hertz to come on. And get ready to brake, if it does, basically. A fair chance it will, because we are only one signal block effectively behind the train that was ahead of us. I think it stops at every station we do through the city. If you don't respond to the 500 hertz magnet, and it's the only way to know what the signal round the corner is doing, by the way, is when that magnet lights up. If you don't respond, you end up stuck about halfway out the tunnel, but you can open the doors where you stop. Guess how I know that? So it's sliding slightly further behind time. Not much you can do about it. That's just what happens with signals and stuff. Happens on real railways as well. It's nothing to get too worked up about. Don't think they've really tweaked the waiting times though for the loading and unloading of passengers. I do like these stations though, they're very, very cool. I like how each one of them feels different as well as you come through it. Like a different sort of style to it, different feel to it. Okay, so setting off again, still under restricted monitoring. Haven't a clue whether I need to acknowledge this one or not, so I'm just going it to be on the safe side. So swaps to 1000 hertz monitoring up to 40. Could not have done this before. It just did not work like this before. It would lock you into the lowest possible restricted speed and then keep you there until I would keep you there for a ridiculous length of time. I did once drive through this tunnel all the way through with the PZB on, and the only way to do it was at 22.5 kilometers an hour, or it would kick in because it was in the wrong mode. So this is almost like having an entirely new route again if you're a PZB user. Whether you'll notice the difference or not if you just run it without that stuff turned on, I don't know. But I feel like I've got almost effectively a whole new route to play with. It makes that much a difference. In fact, rapid transit could, in my opinion, have gone from being the shitest route among the German ones to being the best one for PZB users, because there's some sections of the line where it's really, really going to put you to work. I'm thinking of the speed changes around the junction north of Leipzig and stuff like that. And with the slightly different signalling system as well, it'll keep you on your toes to begin with. That's for sure. But it's what a difference it makes. It's great. I love this. Absolutely love having the PZB finally. And I'm now quite excited for the BR182, which apparently, and I don't know if this is true, is going to be available on rear sig and main Spessart as well, if you have them, which would be cool. Okay, so we can go straight up to 45 this time, because it's 1000 hertz monitoring that's on. And even though we've passed the clear signal, we're still under 1000 hertz monitoring. We're still under monitoring for a while. There's not really much point in overriding it here. Okay, so almost 3 minutes behind time now, which is about as much as you can expect to keep up with the guy in front, really. Oh, you're going to love this, man. It's just, yeah, it did feel really, really empty. There was long stretches where you didn't have much to do, even with the tempo map. Which, by the way, I would swear they've moved this button about 6 inches further up the desk just to make it easier to get to. I'm convinced that was further away before. And they've also out on that fast section, they've done what they did with rear sig. They've swapped some of the trackside signage to use the assets from main Spessart. So speed limit signs that were previously practically invisible, you stand half a chance of seeing them now. Having this thing up in the top right still very, very useful, of course. But it definitely helps just so you know exactly when to hit the PZB, especially for that 7. There's a stretch up near a place called, I think it's called Jesnitz, and there's a 70 km/h speed restriction up there, and it's on the fastest section of the line. Okay, I'm just sort of paying attention to the PZB at the moment, my speed. Yeah, really, really fast section with a 70k speed limit around this one station. I don't know what that's all about. That's obviously guarded by PZB, and that was the one that I thought was really going to test it. I left it to the last second to jump on the brakes the first time I went through there, and it coped. It did fine. So I just want this 1000 Hz monitoring to clear so that I can release the system. Yeah, I didn't think that one needed it, but I'm still at the paranoid, not quite sure what I need to acknowledge and not stage, so. I got used to the KS signalling down at the bottom of rear ignored simply because it very rarely varies in what it shows you down there. Not much point using tempomat along here because we're I don't think that one needs it either, no. Right, not going to make my time back driving like that, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm sure they've tidied up the console in here as well. They've just moved everything slightly closer together, because I definitely had to move the camera around a lot more before to operate some of this stuff on the edges. Sort of half expect to see moving traffic on the roads and what have you, but it's not a route I know very much about. The city. Like, I don't really recognise any of the scenery and stuff, but the train itself has such a really narrow field of vision from that cab. It's definitely been designed with keeping the driver's eye focused on the track ahead and not the scenery going by, that's for sure. Right, so just about ready to go. Right, so we've got quite a bit of time to make up. I managed it earlier on, I don't know if I'll manage it this time. So no PZB restriction as we set off, that's fine. Now there is a reduction to 70, I'm just acknowledging it in case, and it turned out I didn't need to. Train feels just a little bit heavier as well than it did previously. It just takes a little bit longer to pick up speed when you're at the top end, certainly. The time from 120 to 160 certainly feels a lot longer. Oh, and Tempomat now has an icon here on the HUD as well, like AFB does, which is incredibly useful to have. So AFB Tempomat, once it's turned on, you can reduce your power right down to the bare minimum. As long as there's power available, it'll decide what it needs to give it. And it means if you suddenly need to jump on the brakes for a signal, then you're already at the lowest power setting. You don't need to sit and wait for it to go through that whole motion. It's 5% power, and it's got a safety. If you tap the button, it won't go straight to braking. You need to hold it down a wee bit for that. So, as long as you're careful, perfectly easy to use. Although you won't use it much until you're north of the city. So things that they've not done yet, the destination board still doesn't work. That is something they said they're going to bring later as well. There wasn't really anything. I mean, PZB was the main thing that didn't work on this route that we needed it to. Everything else is more or less as it was before. Well, there's another collectible I could have gone and grabbed. Ah, come on. Is it? Yeah. Don't usually bother with those, but seeing as it's right there. Might as well. Right, now we're going out onto the proper high-speed section. So, stretch we're heading out onto, the line speed actually goes up to 200 kilometres an hour at one point, but you need to be fitted with LZB to do that, and we've only got PZB, so we'll be going no faster than about 155, 160. I'll probably take it up to the 160 actually, just to try and get some of this time back. The last time I did this, I also did find I got some signals out here because I was, we're obviously following another service, and aye, that was interesting at 160k the first time. Just simply when you're used to it responding so badly on this route. Flashing green signal is the equivalent on this route of yellow and green together on an HV signal. So flashing green is basically proceed with caution, get ready to slow down, and you should probably acknowledge it as well if it has a speed limit sign showing on it. In particular, I think you don't always have to acknowledge those ones under K signalling, but I have been anyway, just because I'm still not totally familiar with it. So there was me, I had the power handle still at position 10 as opposed to position 1. I lost over 100 metres in the time it took that handle to move. Which is why it's an idea to have it sitting at the 1 position rather than the 10. Didn't want that, want that. Oh, still got my headlights on from the tunnels as well. Oh, not much to see here. Just oh, there's another collectible down there. Have I got time to go and get that? Maybe. Fuck it, we're already running late. There we go. Seeing as the station staff clearly can't be arsed, leave it to the driver. Okay. Right, so there's no PZB or anything like that. We should be fine to just get going. So 10 kilometres and a nice fast stretch of line. So you can relax a little bit once you're out onto this line, but you have to be paying attention to the signals and the upcoming speed limits and things, because at these speeds, if you're even just half a second late noticing it and braking, if you've got the PZB on, you're in trouble. 23 seconds you have to reduce to 85k when it comes on. And it is also possible to go straight from green to yellow with these signals. You won't necessarily get the flashing one in advance every time. But they are spaced apart enough that the trains can cope with that. I'm just going to pop the tempomat all the way up to 160. Try and make a wee bit of time back. You would normally probably run that 155. I'm reluctant to switch to a camera that takes my eyes away from the front of the ahead of the train for too long, because it's been so long since I've driven this route that it is all strange to me again. I know there's some sections where there's literally miles between the signals, and then there's others where they're excuse me, where they're quite closely bunched up. And there's a decent explanation of the KS signalling system. The Ruhr-Sig Nord manual, I think main Spessartbahn has it as well actually, but Ruhr-Sig has a decent section about this particular type of signalling, because it covers the Finnentrop end of the line. Oh, yellow. beautiful. Previously, you would have had to have been at 85 as you passed the yellow, or it would have banged the brakes on there, and then it didn't give you the breathing space that it's supposed to. And because it's a yellow, we're going to carry on straight down to 60 so that we're compliant with any 500 hertz magnet we might run into, which we're going to, because I can see red up ahead, so we'll just carry on braking down to the 35 we need to be at. And we'll just, so even if you've gained time back on that stretch, you're going to lose it again, because we are still behind that train, so don't worry too much about if you do lose time because you were using this system. It's designed to slow you down and separate you from the traffic ahead. Ugh. Okay, so I need to acknowledge that still. That will kick us over into 1000 hertz monitoring, which means we can go up to about 40 safely. So in fact we have gained most of the time back. It's now 10:06 as we roll into the station. So you gain it, you lose a little bit, you gain a little bit, you lose a little bit. It works out by the end. There's nothing right next to the train that I can go and grab, I don't think. Oops, can't get the camera through that gap. What's this place called? Dulwich. Fairly bog standard station. There's not really much to see here, is there? From the old station building. One thing you learn from this is that the back of an industrial estate looks like the back of an industrial estate pretty much wherever you go. Okay, so although it is a green signal ahead, because we stopped under an active 500 hertz magnet, we'll be moving off under restricted monitoring. And it should clear itself as we pass. Nope, switched us back over to 1000, right, so we're still under 1000 hertz monitoring. And we're now clear of the restrictions, so we can just release that and go. So another fairly fairly straightforward, fast section. Again, just being aware that there is a train ahead, so we might get signals. And we've also yet to pass Jesnitz, I think, so we will have that 70k stretch to deal with as well. So just wait till you're at the speed you want, more or less, and it rounds it to the nearest 5, so just wait till you're pretty close. Switch the tempomat on. I usually aim for 155, but because we're a bit behind. We'll take it just a little bit quicker, even though we're likely to hit a signal and slow down again. Oh, something I didn't know until quite recently as well. The windmills turn if you have any wind enabled in your weather settings, which is pretty cool. So about a kilometre out now, so use that signal as a sort of a reference point to start braking. Pretty heavy braking, but easily doable. So we're almost actually caught up to time. We're in the right minute now, so we're effectively on time again. That's another thing I think using PZB does as well, is it basically makes you much more confident with the brakes on your train. You understand the train performance a lot better, I think, once you start using it. I certainly found I became a lot more confident with my braking and whatnot. The more I used it, realised you don't always need to start slowing down. The manual might tell you start slowing down a mile and a half away, but you don't need to start slowing down a mile and a half away. Not that I've got time to go and grab anything now, but I wonder where they're going. Well, you do still sometimes get idiot pedestrians wandering across the level crossings as well. That's not been addressed yet, unfortunately, but it doesn't really matter. You don't hear a thud when you go over them, so presumably the game's not deducting any points. So no restrictions that time, just get straight up to line speed. So, speed reduction coming up in a couple of kilometres, so just start watching for the either the signal masts themselves or a trackside sign. But it's likely to be guarded. I still can't remember them all off the top of my head yet, but it's likely to be protected by PZB because of the massive drop that's involved. So keep an eye out for the wee orange sign, and we'll acknowledge it as we go past, just in case. Or it could be a signal. Right, it's going to be the flashing green signal. And it does have an active PZB magnet attached, so even though the speed limit changes over 1 kilometre away, we're effectively made to do it now. And again, another reduction, also guarded by PZB. That one's telling us that we're reducing to 60k. You don't need to be so violent with the brakes though, because it is a wee bit up the line. In fact, now I think about it, I think it's for crossing that junction. In fact, it's in force from the next main signal anyway, so that'll be this one here. Is that for us or is that for the track next to us? I'm not entirely certain, so... Oh, it's this one here, the flashy green one's for us. So we could actually still be up around 80k, in fact. Or at least around 60, 65. About 60, 65 is fine for proceed with caution signals. Really long platform, this one as well. It's dead easy to brake too early and end up hundreds of meters short of where you wanted to be. So we will be moving off, I think, in restricted monitoring, and at the moment there's an expect stop signal ahead of us. So even if we were running bang on time, we'd arrive to red signals anyway. Again, so there we go. That's gone green. Yeah, so you could arrive here in time for to catch the green as you were loaded, I guess. Bearing in mind, I've barely driven this since before Christmas. I think I did one run on it a few weeks ago because somebody was asking about the talent too. But I didn't do it with PZB or anything turned on. Just wait for the little green T to stop flashing, and off we pop. So we're moving off under restricted, but I'm just going to release it because we've got a green ahead. Not that there was really that much point because we're going straight onto a 60 km/h speed restriction. I'm just going to use the tempomat here. This is just a long enough leg to warrant using it, barely. Oh, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. I was a bit too soon there. I think it's barely going to get to about 100, 110 and we're going to be braking. No, it might make it. I see the signal changing from yellow to green ahead of us, so we're still reasonably close to that train that we've been following all the way since we left Konowitz. Let's see how far up the route we actually are. I don't have much time to make this back. I managed to make it all back last time. Let's see if we can... So there's that, there he is there. So that's the train we've been following the entire way, and he's only like the next signal block. So it's almost impossible. You can't really get ahead of time by this stage, I don't think. I think we're probably doing about as well as could be expected. Oh, what's that? What's that? I think this is like the ticket booth machine area or something. Yeah. Oh, right. Not paying attention, better get ready to drive again. Like a new route. It is almost 100%. I mean, if you're like me and you really got hooked on the whole PZB thing, you probably didn't go back to this. So it's familiar, but the train itself feels different to drive. It doesn't feel like... It just feels a bit heavier to get going and just a little bit slower to respond than it did before. Oh, what did I not pay attention to there? Shite. Yeah, see, as soon as I start looking at the chat, things go wrong. Man, it was 1,000 hertz. Yeah, of course. Right, just need to wait for the brakes to recharge slightly, and then we can go. Hey Nick, how are you, man? I'm good, buddy, thanks. You? Right, let's get going again. Right, so we should be good to 40 for now. Yeah, it was a mess before Stephen. There was no there were no magnets at the speed limit changes where there should have been, and there were at least 2 magnets guarding signals that were not where they should have been. So you pressed the button where you thought you had to press it, but you should have actually pressed it, 5 seconds earlier. Yep, comes out on Friday, mate. I'm really looking forward to it now because the fixed PZB along this route, it all works the way it should now. Right, let's focus because I think whatever I didn't notice before, I'm likely to run into again. So there's... That one didn't need acknowledged. This one will need acknowledged. And I need to be ready to stop at the next one. Okay, well, 2.5 minutes behind time now. Yeah, I don't know why it's coming out differently for the PC and the Xbox. That's a weird one. But, doesn't really matter. The fact that everything works on rapid transit now the way it should be, I'm sure this will keep me more than occupied until the new train comes. Really, really glad they fixed this because I wasn't going to be getting the... Yeah, new update, man. Version 1.10 released today. They've redone the entire rapid transit signalling system, and they've completely rewritten how PZB was implemented into the Talent 2. Yeah, we've got the accelerometers there, and the amp meter looks a bit more sensible for the type of train it is. That's, to be honest with you, I don't really rely on that very much, so I hadn't really clocked it. But yeah, completely stripped it all down and rebuilt it as far as I can tell, and my god, what a difference. It's in the right mode when it should be. It would have started me off under a 25k restriction before, under these circumstances. Let's just release ourselves, get going. Yeah, the release thing didn't work properly before. Oh, it was horrible. And the destination... No, the destination board's not working yet, mate. I'm afraid. That's obviously still on their list of things to do. Who knows? Perhaps when the actual locomotive itself comes out. Because the focus of this update has been the route. So... No, destination board's not working yet, but it's not to say it won't. They have definitely said they want to do it. Don't know why I hit the wrong brake there. Right, yeah, there's that 70 mile an hour or 70 kilometre per hour speed limit change, which you have to know about it, because if you were watching up there, it said 120, because it is 120 before it's 70. Again, that works perfectly. There was no magnets there before. You would have just gone blasting through that. PZB didn't respond when you did. So much better. Yeah, I've got the money sitting there in my wallet for the 182 when it releases, and honestly, in the last sort of 2 hours, my excitement for it went really high, and now it's like kind of. It doesn't actually matter because they've fixed this. It's awesome. I could be quite happy with just this. Never mind getting a new train this week. But of course, I'll still get the new train this week. What I really hope the 182 has is bigger windows than the Talent 2. I really don't like going to the outside cameras when I've got all this stuff turned on, but I feel like there's a lot of this route I've never seen. More BF. I've never noticed it doing that before. I've always seen what was that on the what route did that happen on? Mind you, I don't always take a walk around the cab, I guess, to check everything's as it should be. It's not in service, isn't it? Nicht is not in service, am I correct? Right, I think that's actually the last of the high speed stretch, isn't it? I think it's 120, 130 the rest of the way, maybe. Turn the tempomat on, why not? Cool, man. Thanks for stopping in anyway. We'll see you another time, mate. Have fun with rapid transit when you get a hold of it as well. It's awesome now. So good. There's one of these stations out here that I almost always just blat straight on through. Might be this one actually. Oh yeah, it's this one. I always go way, way up beyond the guardrail here, which you're not supposed to. Oh, guard buzzer doesn't actually buzz. I don't think any of the rest of these really do anything. Yeah. I don't know if any of the stuff, some of the stuff on the fuse box does work, I know that. PZB switch is up there. You can reach it from the driver's seat. Can you reach the CIFA switch? I don't think. Can you? Oh yeah, you can reach the CIFA switch, which I've not turned on for this trip. The PZB button's just there, nice and easy to reach most of the time. Tempomat, I'd swear that used to be down here. It definitely used to be further away to have to go to click for it. Right, so there's only Dessau Sud and Dessau to go. Which is good, because I'd forgot how long these routes actually take. They're all over an hour. Even the quickest run on this route will take you about an hour to do. And I'm absolutely fucking starving, so we get into Dessau and then I'll be going for some grub. And then I may or may not come back on later with a southbound run. Because I'm kind of absolutely loving this just now. And of course this all counts towards the 4 million mile challenge, which if you've not heard about that, it's their new community challenges they're doing, where you can get... it's crap. It's their free prizes are like wallpapers and stuff for now. But I still think it's a decent idea in principle to try and get people engaged, and if people do it, they might give us eventually, when they've built up a library of stuff, they might even give us things like skins or what have you. The fact that they're engaging with the community at all, with stuff like completely rewriting a route to please the fan base as well, really encouraging signs, I think, for a small independent developer. I'll criticise them where they deserve it, but I'll give them credit where it's due as well, and I think they're doing all the right things mostly. The game's getting better with each update. They certainly seem to be getting better at listening to their fans, so I'm all in favour of everybody playing as much train sim as possible, getting part of your 4 million miles. Yeah, it's a wallpaper you'll never use, but who knows, if the programme itself takes off, we might get better stuff further down the line. It's the sort of thing that, you know, come Christmas or stuff like that, would be perfect for them to give something away on to engage people with, but they'll only do that if you know, if people are actually showing that they will in turn engage with the program, sort of thing. So yeah, that's something that I quite like the idea of, and it'd be interesting to see how that develops in future. Sneaky yellow signal there, and it goes green, so it doesn't need acknowledged after all. We'll pick the speed back up again, but I'm expecting we'll probably hit another signal. getting ready to brake anyway. We're almost back on time as well. We're only running 1 minute behind. And given that we almost had to acknowledge a yellow back there, we are as close as we could be, I think. So I'll take that. Does still feel like there's not a ton of other traffic on the line sometimes. But then again, you do a couple of the trains you do pass, you pass them in the tunnels where you don't actually bloody see them, and there's another one passes you, I think, sometimes. There's a stretch about 10k back from where we are, where the two lines actually run quite far apart from each other. There's, there's like a big earth embankment between the up line and the down line. You can't see what's on the other line, so I think it suffers a wee bit from that. There probably is more traffic sometimes than you see. This is the crossing where people are going to be walking across it as we leave. Nothing you can do about it. Nobody crossing it just now, that's fine. So 5 minutes to cover the last 5 kilometres or so. So we make the time back, all in this last section almost. So just let it run up to the speed I want, and then hit the tempomat and just reduce the power there. Probably get a signal of some sort on the way into Dessau as well. Okay, so max brakes, and we're already more or less down at the speed anyway by the time we go through. Okay, so down to 50-60 or so for the expect stop. No brightness control, Stephen, unfortunately. It's still just day or night, which that's alright. I've found that I've stopped using the brightness control so much anyway, to be honest with you, because you can't read the damn things properly on the German trains. They're too small, whatever you do. Yep, you can still turn the useless one off. You can see I've done it there, mate, so I can read my heads up display a wee bit better. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to get a red up here or not, so just ready to tap the brakes. Not sure what platform I'm going into. Okay, that's not bad at all. Right, so from 3 minutes late after passing through the tunnel to a nice on-time arrival. Most of which you make back at the end, it has to be said, but tremendous. Oh aye, mind and open the doors, eh? Oh, right. Oh, hello, new people, welcome. Okay. What I'm going to do just now, because I've just been doing that for about an hour and 10 minutes, is I'm going to quickly go for a comfort break, I think. About 5 minutes or so, make myself a quick cuppa, and then I'm going to come back and do another run in the other direction. Loads new to this update, well, not loads, but what's new is massive. The update is basically they've fixed the signalling. PZB works the way it should on this route now, which is a huge deal if you like using that. Right, I am going to just pop this back to a menu screen. Right. So it'll be let's make it a drizzly day. That's good weather to have on when you're learning a route that you're using the safety systems on, because you can see the signals a lot better. So we're going to do that a southbound, right? Yeah, I'll do a random southbound. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break and then come back and do this. Okay, that's much better. Right. Now that I'm back, let's just get going. Ooh, community challenge. There, that's the thing that I was just talking about there. DTG Live / TSW, they'll tell you what it's all about. Probably much better than I can. I just think it's a great idea in principle. Right, unlock the door. So it's the isolation switch, not the bridging switch, that you want to turn on. Not going to bother with SIFA as usual for these videos. Tend only to use it when I'm playing about on my main account. Don't need the cabin lights on. So it gives you a wee sort of minute or so at the start just to get yourself set up. Ironically, it gives you one of the most generous starting times for the train that needs it the least, I think. I feel like you could do with much more time with something like the 101, where you sometimes need to run down 4 coaches to get to the destination board and the marker lights and stuff if you want to run with them on. But, I'm splitting hairs again, I'm nitpicking again. Reverse into forward, and there's no harm just closing the doors up a couple of seconds early. Right, this is my first time southbound post-patch with PZB on, so any mistakes or screw-ups or things are likely to be mine and not problem with the game, because it has all been redone. I just don't know where any of it is. Should have actually checked how long this train is as well. I don't know if it's a 3 or a 6 car. Right, so it's just a 3 car, that's fine. Back into the driver's seat, I'm afraid, because I don't know exactly where all the signals are. The distance boards, markers at the side of the track, they're definitely easier to read. Those have been replaced with the updated ones. It's just lots of little tweaks and refinements to the signs at the side of the track, the signalling, but the main improvement, to answer the question from a few minutes ago, is definitely the PZB being completely rewritten for it. wee bit sharper than I needed to be on the brakes. Nobody even waiting for the train there. It's deserted, mind you, have to in the afternoon. No exactly peak time, I suppose, is it? Pissing down with rain, hen. Fucking hell. This Leipzig or Glasgow? Okay, and just about ready to go. Still the 1 minute long load time at these stations. Yeah, it's not been mucked about with. So we're running slightly early. Don't get penalised for closing the doors just now, and we can just be ready to go when it's time. Right, another nice long run this time on the fast stretch of track. I don't think I've actually ever done an all-stop service on this line. Okay, so let's let the speed build up again and get ready to catch it with the tempomat. Surely a speed increase. Now there was me saying you don't see much traffic at the end of the last run, and we've passed what, 3 trains already, so I suspect we've just passed a lot of it, as I said before, when it was on bits of the line we couldn't see from where we were. So tempomat on, just return the power handle to its lowest setting. I don't want to move the camera too far because I don't want to go past a signal or a signpost that needed a button press. Still get some of that blurry going on as well. Well, thought we'd have hit a speed limit increase by now. Yeah, apparently not. As I say, it may as well be a new line to me. I've forgotten almost all of it. Clear signal, and a bit more about the signals maybe. It's the signals on this route, they are different to the HV ones that you'll have used with PZB before on Ruursig and main Spessart. They do have these KS signals on both those routes, but they are mixed in with the HV signals, and they still use the VR component. These ones are basically only going to be green, yellow or red. You're never going to see the mixed combinations like you do on the other routes, but they mean exactly the same thing as they do on other German lines. Green is clear, yellow is expect stop, and red obviously is stop. The big difference is that on the HV signals on the other German routes, there's another signal called proceed with caution, which is the one which is a yellow and a green together, and that's the one that slows you down to about 60k usually. That is not present on KS signalling. Instead you'll see a green light flashing. That's the equivalent of the green and yellow together. Apart from that, they're exactly the same. They use the same system of red or orange markings on the mast to differentiate main signals from the rest of them. Distant signals are still got the NE2 plate screwed onto the bottom of them. That's the white thing with the black chevrons, and your bog standard repeaters are still plain ones with the little white light in the corner. The main difference is how the combination signal works. And the way I'm approaching it at the moment is, if you're in any doubt, just acknowledge the thing. They can sort of function as a combination signal system, but I'm finding wrapping my head around it. It's still eluding me slightly as to when it means distant and when it means main. Basically, if it shows anything other than a steady green light, or it shows you a speed limit change, just acknowledge it to be safe. In the meantime, and I'm sure that we'll figure out eventually which ones we can safely ignore. Okay, so without a train on the line ahead of us giving us a signal every couple of blocks, we're now running a minute ahead of time. Never noticed that before. Even the second hand on the clock works. Lordy. See, it's the little attention to detail like that that tickles me. If we can hide a camera under here, you even see all the crap under the train moving when it moves off. Like, everything under there is animated. It's crazy. It's like when they made Project Cars 2 and they animated like the gearboxes and shit that nobody would ever see. That's the kind of level of detail that they've gone into with this. I see, like, the weather, the water running off the windows and stuff. Sometimes this game just looks incredible. And then you turn the camera like 10 degrees, lift it a bit, and it looks like crap with the draw distance suddenly chopping off. And just as well, it's so much fun. Right, that's not what I wanted. Right, I'm going to see if I can see get a camera under here from we move off. We'll just lock the door preemptively. Let me just check the signal's okay. Camera's probably going to snag on a sleeper tie and jump all over the place. can't really get it to stay underneath, but you can see the axle turning, the traction motor is going and everything. It's pretty cool. Right, so there was no restriction there. I can just get underway. So approaching from the north, that 70k speed restriction is going to show up in your HUD. We'll still need to acknowledge it, I think, as we go past. So there's the signpost there. Again, they're much bigger. They're using the ones from main spec art. Much easier to see. Whereas before the patch, there wasn't even a magnet there. I don't know what this speed limit's for. Maybe it's just a lot of NIMBYs live around here or something, I don't know. Or maybe it's something to do with the embankment that this track seems to be built up on. Some engineering reasons. Or for a bridge or something, maybe, I don't know. It just seems like an awfully strange wee limit to have in the middle of what's otherwise a fairly high speed stretch. Okay. And if you just note the time, running bang on time even with the PZB switched on, so it doesn't slow you down. It doesn't. You're not going to go any. Well, you can go much faster without it, but it's not going to sort of handicap you at all having it on. And if it does make you run a bit late, it's because, well, it's doing what it's supposed to. There's obviously been something ahead that's needed separated out from you. Much like the train following thing we did coming up the line. That was incredibly good fun. All those signals and things like that. Even on Ruhr Sig, there's very few services that pop so many signals and things at you as that one did. I think Rapid Transit has gone back up towards the top of my list of favourite routes now. I think it's safe to say my top 3 favourite routes for Train Sim World are now basically, in any order you like, the German ones. And it is just the added layer that you get from PZB and things like that. They're odd trains. They're highly automated and do a lot of things for you, but they take an awful lot of effort to get that automation working for you, if you know what I mean. It sometimes feels like you're taking an awful long way round for a shortcut. But that said, when it all works and you get it right, especially when you get it right under, you know, a scenario maybe where it's tested you a lot, it's one thing, you know, going from one end of the route to the other at the quietest time of day and never seeing a yellow signal and saying, awesome, PZB is great. it's when you're doing it on a, you know, bad weather, nighttime traffic on the route, loads of signals getting thrown at you in places where you've maybe not been used to them before. That's when PZB really, 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 really delivers. When you get it all right, it just feels like a completely different game. And as anybody who's seen any of my recent videos from main spec art will tell you, it doesn't matter how well you know where the buttons and things are, you can still bugger it up spectacularly without much effort. And it's because of that it's so good when you get it right. Oh, I'm kind of talking more than I'm paying attention to the track, so we're now slipped about half a minute behind time. We're still on time, as long as, if it says 14:55, as long as you arrive before it ticks over to 56, then you're good. And it actually gives you usually 2 or 3 minutes leeway. The end of the run coming north that I did before this, I was late to almost every station, but still within that sort of 3 minute window, I think it is. So it counted me as being on time for every arrival. Did not get green for every station when I practiced it the first time offline, that's for sure. And this one could go anyway, because I've not been southbound on it yet, post-patch. Sorry, give you something to look at while we're stopped. I've got a bad habit of using the station stops for a quick smoke or a drink break. And I forget that it's probably no very interesting just sitting looking at the dashboard of a train. Okay, so underway again, no restrictions. Probably won't need the tempo map because it's such a short leg, this one. We're getting into the stoppy starty stuff now, I think. Yeah, 120. I mean, we'll get to 120, turn it on, and then basically be getting ready to stop again, but that's of course unless the signals have other ideas, which I don't think so. Right, so not even any need to turn the tempomat on there. I'm braking much earlier than I need to as well sometimes. Pardon me. So go a wee bit long there. Oh, bloody hell, got something in my throat. Okay, after an off-mic cough and fit, pulled it in a bit longer there because the stopping point it gives you, the back's actually still just a bit hanging off the end there. And we'll get ready to go again. Oops, just a wee bit, a wee bit quick off the mark there with the doors. It doesn't matter, it's only 10 seconds. And I believe one of the functions of this dead screen on the right here is connected to the TV cameras on the sides of the carriage. So if it had actually worked, we could have sat and watched whoever it was running late for the train running up going, "No, don't close your doors yet." Cool if they modelled that, and that'd be funny. Okay, so we're going to be getting slowed down shortly. There's a flashing signal with a yellow number under it, so that needs to be acknowledged. So the speed limit of 60 comes in from the next main signal. Oh, look, it's like it suddenly got a bit mistier. So that's not the main signal, that's just a sort of a distant repeater thing. That's also just a repeater. This next one needs to be acknowledged though. So the white 6 is telling you 60 from this signal, and the yellow 10 is telling you there's another temporary speed reduction in force beyond it, which you also need to acknowledge on this this particular signal. Basically, with the KS signals, whenever you see a yellow number under the signal, underneath a flashing signal, it needs a PZB acknowledgement. So that just takes us nicely into Bitterfeld. Okay, so we're running about a minute late because of the temporary, because of those speed restrictions. Not much you can do about it, but we'll get it back. Super Sprinter, hi Super Sprinter. How to make the travelling post office on NTP not so dark? Not sure what. How do you mean? If you mean the actual train, like the locomotive cab, there's, I think the cab light switch is above you somewhere. They don't have coach lighting that you can operate from the driver's cab. As far as I'm aware, you would have to just walk down the train and turn all the switches on yourself. If that's what you mean. It's not actually something I've played a huge amount of, I have to be honest. I have Northern Trans Pennine, and I quite enjoy it. I just I haven't, for various reasons, played as much of it as the other ones, I'm afraid. So I'm not an authority on NTP. Like I'm an authority on anything really, but yeah, the 101's the only thing on NTP I think that has a light switch that can be controlled from the driver's cab. So I'm just going to release the PZB. Temporary restriction, 100 kilometres. Sorry, man, if it wasn't as the answer you were hoping for, or as specific as you hoped. I keep meaning to go and give NTP more love. My problem with it for streaming it wise as well is that I think it spends too much time in those long dark tunnels, and there's maybe just not enough to. Yeah, I have streamed from it, but there's only so much I thought I could maybe get from it. Okay, so we should be more or less just full chat all the way to Petersroda. The lighting's definitely much better as well. I think that was improved with a previous sort of game-wide overhaul, but this definitely looks a lot nicer than it did in these conditions previously. It looked really blotchy and just grey and dull and no so great. Oh, and then you come over that wee hill, whoopsie. The speed suddenly goes flying up there. Okay, so we'll kick the tempo mat in for the last kilometre or two. And heavy braking. Oh, shite. Oh! I meant to put the power back on and the emergency brake. Fuck. Oh! Right, we're still going to be more or less on time. What a div. I think I'm that used to driving twin-handled trains rather than combined-handled trains. Oh, fuck's sake. Right, it doesn't matter this time because we're going to be stopped anyway. by the time we've loaded and unloaded, the brakes will have recharged. That's a good thing about this train as well, is if you screw up and find yourself with the brakes on emergency, or you find yourself getting a penalty stop from PZB or what have you, it's a piece of piss to reset this train. You just... all you have to do is set the combined handle to 0 and count to 10 and it'll go, because that's how quickly the brakes reset. There's no mucking around with overcharge buttons or any of that sort of stuff either. There's no, there's no second handle in the rear cab that might be in the wrong position, buggering it up. It just, you can't get this one wrong. It's a doddle. And yet, like all of them, once you turn all the gadgets and the gizmos on, it's complicated enough to probably be one of the more sort of engaging ones to drive. Even the bits where it sort of seems like nothing's happening, you're always sitting ready to press something or respond to something if it comes up. Well, maybe the stoppy-starty stuff's a bit further down, actually. I'm sure it's foggier than it was when we set off as well. I've noticed a few more of those 6-car units on the line than they maybe were before. I wonder if those are ones that are going to be replaced by the 182 when it's released, when we get it. Okay, so as the speed approaches 160, we'll just catch it with a tempo mat. Let's give ourselves our usual 5k cushion there. And just reduce the handle again so that we're poised and ready. Oh. Oh, better get back in the cab because we're getting close. And again, just big meaty braking action. And there you go. You can easily stop from a kilometre at 160. Is that a collectible on the wall up there that I've not got? Let's go and have a look. It was indeed the blurry map that unblurries over time. So we are started all the way up there. So we are currently here, I think, Delitzsch. So another couple of high-speed sections, and then that. I love that bit, the run from Mark to MDR. Right, better get back in the train. Okay. So this is a section coming up where if the signals behave the way they should, there's going to be a lot of information on these that will run contrary to what's on the HUD. And if you're using PZB, important to know what it all means. Or at least to be aware that it's there. That's not going to come into play yet. That's going to come in once we get closer to the city of Leipzig itself. I may be proved wrong, right enough. There might still be bits of this that aren't quite right, but the northbound journey was certainly... Oh, it was great fun, I loved it. Everything was just where it was supposed to be and did what it was supposed to. Loved it. Okay, catch it at 155 there. This is so useful, this little blue pipper appearing on the HUD speedo now. Similar to the one that you get for AFB. So, big braking. I mean, you could now if you wanted to, because they've improved the signage. If you knew the distance markers the way that the drivers do in real life, you could drive it without this. Now that you can read the signposts, you've got all the what's the word I'm looking for? All the sort of breaking points, if you like. That's the word I'm looking for. You've got all the sort of physical reference points you want for when to brake and things like that. And that's how a trained driver knows when he's got a speed limit change coming up. He's not got a wee magic thing in his windscreen telling him. It's because he knows that the speed limit changes at a certain point on the track. And on the other hand, while I play this a lot, I feel that learning the routes to those extent is a bit above and beyond what I'm prepared to do for a game. So I'll stick with the HUD elements. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Absolutely murder it. Right, time to go. Oh, wait until... Oh, right, so we're back to running early again. Awesome. That's what we like. Okay, and there was no restriction on the way in, so there's none on the way out. Right, we might get up to... this might be a long enough run to warrant using the tempomat as well. Okay, so that doesn't need to be acknowledged, that's all clear. Occasionally, especially when it's raining, it's difficult to tell from a distance whether the light's flashing or not initially. Sometimes it's just it's a raindrop on the windscreen obscuring it. So yeah, we just barely make it to line speed, and then we're going to be getting ready to stop. And it's a gradual uphill this time, so the braking will be a little bit more aggressive. Right, running comfortably on time as well, so again, even with PZB turned on and driving to the restrictions it places on you, you can still keep decent enough time. Oh, I've obviously been here and got this one. That's the one we did on the way up, wasn't it? Yeah. That's the one I jumped out for before. Don't think there's any down here. Nothing over there, over there. What's that? I take it that's some sort of device connected to signalling or something. I assume that's like the things that you see on the sides of the platform down there at UK stations, which are connected up to the signalling system. Right, let's get back underway. Right, Leipzig Messe is the next station. I'm pretty sure this is the one that, if the signalling system does what I expect it to do, is going to be used to control our speed going into the city, because we're switching on to a different line. You'll see the letter L appearing under certain signal masts as we go past, and that's a reminder to the driver that we're being diverted onto the line is going to take us to Leipzig. That involves changing from the line we're on onto another one, I think, if I remember rightly. Or is it beyond Mesa? Is it the one after Mesa? Maybe he's got all that going on. I remember it is as we approach the city from the north it does all that. Or it should do all that. I think the information always was there on the signals before, but they were so difficult to read, and of course nothing worked properly as well. So we'll pay attention this time going through it, see what we get. So we're still showing, yeah, it's a steady green, so we're still sorry, I'm really concentrating now. Come on, click spot. Right, good job we're running early. Oh. Yeah, plenty of room there. Right, so it might be just north of here that we start running into signalling and stuff. There's definitely a section up ahead. Let's have a look on the map. So we're going south. That's this whole mess of junctions here. I think we're at, I'm pretty sure we should get slowed down. Right, we'll see what happens as we approach the tunnels. So in fact, I'm sitting here hovering and poised, ready to shut my doors, but I've got another 30 seconds or so. Got to close my blind earlier. And if you're sitting and you've got, you know, time to spare like this, there's no harm at all just shutting the doors 3 or 4 seconds early. Okay, so next station 3.7 kilometres. I'm going to be paying close attention to all the signals as we come past them now. As I said before, I'm pretty sure I remember them not all being green as you go through here. Okay, so far so good. Okay, flashing green will have a speed limit below it. It has a speed limit reduction below it. Doesn't actually need a PZB acknowledgement because the speed limit you're reducing to is above the speed limit that PZB would enforce. If that makes any sense. Again, I'm still acknowledging them out of caution more than anything else. I'm still figuring out KS signals as well. So this is an example of your gauges are saying one thing, but the signals are very clearly telling you something different. We just coast down here. But what you will notice is that the speed limits, even if you drive to the speed limits, it's perfectly possible to stay more or less on time. I didn't even see that signal, I'm going to be honest. I was too busy looking at the thing I was talking about. So I just acknowledged it out of caution. I think my front door might just have gone beyond where I wanted it to. Why the fuck's my front camera way in the back? Oops. Oh well. You could hang on to the rail and sort of clamber along there. You'd be fine. Okay, again, I'm not certain that I need to acknowledge this one or not. It is a proceed with caution. It does have a temporary speed limit showing below it. So we'll just acknowledge it as we go through, just in case. Because it is a main signal, which on an HV route wouldn't need. This wouldn't need acknowledged. So yeah, that one does need acknowledged. I think the rule of thumb is basically flashing green with a temporary speed limit below it needs to be acknowledged. Okay, so because it's unrestricted monitoring, we can go as fast as about 80 kilometres an hour under PZB, and that complies with the speed limits as well. But there's another one, so even though there's no change to the information, we still need to acknowledge that one. Just to confirm that we've seen it, you'll notice the magnet light came back up again. And this is basically using the signals to control the speed of trains coming into the tunnels. And again, this one will also need to be acknowledged. Shouldn't run into any caution signals though, because they are all green. So at the moment, I don't need to worry about running into a 500 hertz magnet. Right. So the only thing you need to be careful of coming into that tunnel is because you're going downhill. It would be really easy to creep into the 85k zone on your way down there, and that would obviously give you a slam on the brakes. Right, let's see. Grey rainy day, no. Well, it's generally no much better where I am, mate. I'm near Edinburgh, and as we all know, up here we get two seasons, August and winter. So, yeah, I'm quite familiar with the grey skies as well. But what they're really good for in the game, especially, is when you're driving a route that you don't know particularly well, and you're wanting to drive it from the signals rather than the HUD. It's great for that because you can see them showing up a lot further away against the dull background. Oh shit! Doors. Dynamic weather would be cool. I would really like that. Right, so we've got no PZB restriction, which is great, because the only way to keep your time through this lot of tunnels is basically to bounce it off the speed limit and back. This one's cool. I really like this one. Oh, what is that? Is that like brick? That wood paneling? I'm not entirely sure what that's meant to be. If that's meant to be some sort of brick or whether it's wood. Wood, I think, because this looks like this is all wooden up here. Love the big old vaulted wooden ceiling. This actually reminds me a lot. One of the big halls in the National Railway Museum in York feels very like this. Right, so again we just bounce this one off the... I don't think we even make it all the way to 80 through here. Oh, maybe we can. Nice, still running on time. Took me ages to realise that the way to drive these tunnels is really aggressively, basically. There's another train on the other side of that thing there. Oh, camera stuck inside the wall. This happens occasionally. I don't know who's going to be going first. I think it's going to be us. Oh, what? Right, need to just hammer it. You don't need to worry about easing the control open on this. Slam it open, it'll give it what it needs to. Oh, could we find the click spot there? Let's see if that camera works yet. That's more like, I think that's what it was trying to do, was be stuck to the inside wall. That's a collectible I've already got. So we're pretty much at the bottom end of that tunnel now. Oh, shit. So there's only, I think, 2 or 3 more stations, maybe. Sometimes the light in here feels really overpowering. Yeah, it's either too dark or it's too bright with the Unreal Engine, I think, Stephen. It goes from one extreme to the other sometimes, I think, with this game. Especially inside tunnels. There are some real issues with light inside the tunnels. They've got... And there's that really weird bit of track just outside Reading as well when you're heading eastbound. It doesn't matter what time of day or night it is, or what the weather you've got set up is, it will always go pitch dark as you drive under this one gantry. There's like this one magic gantry about 500 yards east of Reading that has the power to blot out the sun. Although weirdly, I've never noticed it happening heading into Reading, only ever coming out. On the London side. Ah, ballsticles. Always, for some reason, and it doesn't matter what direction you're travelling in, it just always feels like it takes a bit longer to stop at this station. And I don't know if it's some sort of optical illusion because the platform's really narrow or what have you. But it just seems to take a lot longer to slow down here. I know it's on a 0.5% incline, but it applies going both ways. I mean, that felt like I was going downhill. The length of time it just sort of dragged out on the brakes there. All it needs is a video option to adjust brightness and contrast, and a programmer competent at doing that as well, which I think is probably their biggest issue at the moment. That sounds harsher than it's meant to. I think they just don't have the experience to maybe be doing stuff like that. And I would go out on a limb and say a company the size of Dovetail can't afford the guys who could do it in their sleep. Yeah, everything does. I've noticed that on the Great Western as well, though, and even on NEC. I think the whole game got an overhaul. They actually did the core engine. The lighting got a do over. But yeah, this does look much better than I remember it looking before. Right. I wasn't actually acknowledging anything there. I was just shifting my grip on the pad. Oh yeah, it definitely everything just looks a little bit richer and a little bit more real, a little bit more solid. Those aren't really the right words for it. Let me just get pulled up here. I mean, even just the shading that I'm seeing, I don't know how well it's showing up on a 720 point stream, but the light effects, even that I'm just seeing playing across the upright pillars here around the window, are incredible, and they're in stark contrast, frankly, to to some of the blurriness and low-res trees that are going whizzing by and things like that. Again, I'd rather have blurry. I would rather have blurry, low-res texture that I barely ever look at in any detail, and a train that looked good. The stuff I'm looking at all the time should look good. The stuff that I'm not really looking at very much, I don't really care so much about. If it feels like it's going past at 100 miles an hour, then that's fine. Bearing in mind my first ever train game was made out of vector graphics, you know what I mean? Right. Doors, I think we're just about hanging on to time. I've not really been paying close attention the last couple of stops. 51. Right, I would also expect to start seeing end of route signalling. I don't know if Markleberg Nord's even the last station. There might be one more after it. I can never remember. So nice steady green. I can just carry on through. Kilometre to go. So we'll just back it out. I didn't need to be braking that early, quite frankly. Worlds of Flight. A Dragon 32, man. Now you're going back. Do you know, I never actually saw one of those machines. I don't think they ever really made it up here in any great numbers. I know somebody who had one when they were a kid, but I didn't actually know them back then, so that doesn't really count. Amstrad CPC was my first one, my first computer. The first sim would have been, oh Christ, it would have been something like Strike Force Harrier or something like that. Spitfire 40 maybe. Unless you count a Formula 1 game that pretended it was a sim but really wasn't. Right, Markleberg. Is that the last stop? It's not. I think there's another one after, isn't there? I wasn't stuck with the green screen, fortunately. Oh, too early with the brakes again, really. No, I had the one that came with the colour monitor. I actually still had it until very recently. It was up in my parents' attic, and then they were having a clear out, and well, Probably fairly predictable what happened to poor old Arnold, because I wasn't there to oversee it. Right, so we're running ahead of time again, which is nice. We've been keeping to the timetable the whole way, which is no mean feat, because I kind of wondered if PZB, they might have shoehorned it in and it might have been a bit crap and buggered up the timekeeping and stuff, but it seems to actually have been done properly. Yeah, hell, even before, without PZB, I couldn't run to time on this this route. I've never ever gotten to the end with that many on times. Well, it says I'm going to do something really stupid now and be like 10 minutes late getting in. Might even have a few seconds in hand, aye. But what we'll do is we'll just close the doors up a few seconds early again. I mean, really, if you're cutting it that fine that you're missing a train by 4 seconds, then fuck off and be more organised. Right, yeah, this last station is the final one, I think. There's a signal ahead, can't quite make it out. That's because it's the back of one facing the other way, it's not for me. I've got yellow. And of course that is expect stop. It's not like on an HV signalling system where I might have an extra one in between. That one's telling me get your speed right down to 60 or less. Okay. Right, I'm kind of crawling along here because I got caught out earlier on with the PZB down here, and I think I think it was that siding that I didn't acknowledge. Right, so that 30k signpost needs acknowledged as well, apparently. And down to under 25 because we were in restricted mode, I think. And I can't actually read the screen, but we're going into a speed restricted junction anyway where we're crossing over it, so we're going to be slightly late, but there's not a great deal that can be done because that's been on account of the signalling. So we're now under 1000 Hz monitoring, which means we could go back up to 45 once we're clear of the junctions and stuff. There's not much point because we're going to be straight back under 500 Hz. So it'll still count as is on time because we're within a couple of minutes. We're not quite there. And I think that last stretch in, I maybe could have gone a little bit quicker through that last yellow section than I did. Again, I'm still learning K signalling as well. And the route's still not that familiar to me. And that's it. That's the end. We just need to wait for the passengers to unload. And I've also just realised that the laptop I used to watch the chat with and what have you has crashed, so I've got no idea if I've lost the stream or if I'm still going or what. I've not had any messages on my PlayStation yet. There we go. Job done. Right, that's not too bad. So all counties on. Bloody hell, that's a lot more stops than I thought. Lordy. It didn't feel like that many. That was crazy. Right, okay. Everything just came back to life as well. I think that was maybe just a YouTube spazzy moment. Okay, so that's been nearly 3 hours I've been at this, I think. So I was starving an hour and a half ago. I'm absolutely fucking famished now, otherwise I would do more because I absolutely love rapid transit again now. It's awesome. There will be more getting done in the next few days. Obviously when the 182 drops, I'll be having a look at that. Thank you very much, Stephen. It's nice of you to say so. appreciate that. Yeah, it's not something that they've. It's one of these games that they don't advertise that much anyway. I feel. And I didn't know that they were. I knew that the update was coming, but I didn't see anything on social media to say it was here. It was just I fired the game up today, and it did it. And it doesn't even tell you in the patch notes what they've fixed. It just says bug fixes. You would think something as significant as we've totally rewritten the route would warrant more. Patch notes are on Dovetail Games website as well. In the forums, I think you can get them. They're a bit more in depth, but most of the stuff they've changed is sort of technical under the hood kind of stuff. I never thought they would update it either, to be honest with you, but I think what's happened is they've decided to bring out this BR182, and when they've announced it, a lot of us, and myself included, I've said it before on stream, that I wouldn't buy it on Rapid Transit when the PZB was in the state it was. So there you go, man. The power of the media. They've obviously paid attention and they've changed it. And well, seriously, it would be ridiculous of me to even attempt to claim any of the credit for it. The fact is, if you go and look on their Facebook and their Twitter and what have you, lots and lots of people said after they announced it, "You must be joking." And credit to them, they've obviously took that on board, gone back and fixed it. And it's brilliant. That was so much fun. I really enjoyed doing that with all the stuff on, and everything seems to be there that needs to be there. And it's got one or two bits that'll trap you if you're not watching what you're doing, because that 70km/h stretch around Jesnitz in particular, when it didn't show up on the HUD till the last second. So, yep, it's 100 times better than it was before, and I suspect I'll be spending a lot more time on Rapid Transit in the near future. I'm off to get something to eat and have a bit of a rest, because my eyes are a bit sore now as well, and I'll catch you again next time. Thanks very much. Bye bye.